Let's get busy.
It's podcast night here at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands, my home away from home. There's hope. There is hope. There's Dana Hope. Dana. What's
Hi.
up? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here.
We're, with all my guests, some would say it's stalking. I call it research because it's, social media, Facebook, where I find, I connect with the potential guests. And with you, I saw some things that you post, your news feed, things that, of my interest, sparked my interest, and thought she'd be a cool person to have on.
You're absolutely right.
I know, because our pre-show talk has been very good. You good? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I pre-gamed a little bit, so I won't just stand here or sit here and stare at you, which is
For starters.
absolutely what I would have done.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We both have some Southend in us.
Yeah.
Yeah, figuratively and actually, I don't know, but definitely figuratively.
Well, I was born
Look-
in E-Town in a trailer park, so you can't get much more than that.
So Kentucky all your life, right?
Yeah.
And you're still living in Kentucky,
Yeah.
Louisville area, but you said you were coming from New Albany. So what
Yeah,
was
I'm
it?
Louisvillian at heart. Work in New Albany. Been there at IU Southeast for 8 years, and I lived in New Albany for about 8 years as well, but moved back to the Ville, and I'm getting ready to move back to New Albany.
Really?
I just want my kids to go to school there. So I have a 3-year-old. She's getting ready to. She's 3, so before she starts kindergarten is the goal. So.
And I asked you about your how your night was, and you made reference to, and this was no personal thing, but the fact that I record 3 segments when I'm here at Baxter's, and I asked or made mention of the fact that I should have probably had you on the last segment, because the last segment is a little more looser because we are at a bar. But you mentioned your daughter, right? And the fact that she needed to be in bed by a certain time, and you kind of elaborated, because I asked,
Yes.
say, where's the her father? Where's the father at? And you had it and you came back with the
In true Kentucky fashion, her daddy is my brother, and he gets out of prison. We got out of prison today, actually, and so what that means in proper parlance is that I adopted my niece because she needed a home.
yeah.
Her dad and her mom had issues with drugs and things, and mom is missing in action. She's always welcome back if she gets her shit together. And dad is always dad. She misses him horribly. She talks about him all the time, and as far as she's concerned, he's been away at work.
Yeah.
And so
How long has he been away?
2 years.
Wow.
So she hasn't seen him. She really just knows him from pictures.
Yeah.
But
But how long has mom been out of the picture?
about as long.
Really?
Yeah, she hasn't seen her
And
at least 2 years.
You how long have you?
So I
she's
got
been-
her when she was 7 weeks old, and so she was taken out of. This is so sad. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
No, it's just she was taken from my brother's arms, basically from the hospital once they did the drug test. So
shit.
she was born with some drugs in her system, and she went straight to a foster family. Went from that foster family to another really bad situation. And when that situation really went sour, I jumped in and said, I gotta take this, I gotta take her. And at first it was, I want to get them off drugs and get them, to be good parents and let's make this a happy family. So I'm just going to be temporary.
Right.
And it wasn't long before I realized that ain't happening. So I filed for adoption. And the adoption was final July 3rd.
I'm curious. How does that work? Because as obviously she has parents. Are they contesting this? Could they contest it? How
They
did that-
both did,
Okay.
which also meant I had to pay their attorney's bills. It cost me a fortune to do this whole thing. And, I get it. I read about the psychology of why do they contest it even when they won't win, when there's no option. It's so they can live with it, to say they tried. Mom never showed up for court, ever. But I had to pay her attorney, who did show up for court.
Oh, yeah.
And my brother came in. He was in, sorry, Brandon, if you ever hear this. He came in. He was in orange prison duds, crying in front of the judge. It was horribly sad. And I told him, I said, you'll always be
But
dad.
he made the effort, though.
Yeah. I mean, well, they brought him on he didn't. He was subpoenaed. He had to be
All right.
there. But he
Okay.
would have been, I think he
Oh,
would have been there.
Okay.
And
can live
he
with that,
severed
yeah,
his
yeah.
rights, and
Okay.
that's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
But you also said he's getting out, like today.
He got out at midnight, actually.
As in this past midnight. Yeah.
Yes.
So, first
And I
thing,
have not talked to them
First
today.
thing Tuesday morning at midnight.
So
he's
my
out.
dad went and got him at 12:01 a.m.
Yeah.
And
Was he in prison?
well, he
local,
was
or-
at Bell County Forestry Reserve, which now I'm a expert on these places. But it was as far as prisons go, it was like beautiful. It was a forestry reserve and it had like dorms, and they had a pool hall and classes, and he had a TV and a remote in his cell. So he was at, I hate to say it, the best place you could be in that
Wi-Fi.
Right, right. Who knows? Massages, I have no idea. But then he spent the last 30 days here in Jefferson County, and then boom, he got shock probation. He was sentenced to 15 years, and he got out on shock. And let me tell you, we were shocked. So I wasn't expecting to see him for 15 years. So, yeah, tomorrow is going to be interesting.
Think so?
Yeah, because we'll see him tomorrow night. He wants to come see my daughter.
You've already gotten that memo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been in contact with him
Okay,
through,
okay.
Jail email.
Mhm.
It's email now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something. So today, prepping for the podcast and knowing that he's getting out and that she's going to see him for the first time in 2 years, it's been a day of a day, I'll tell you. So this
And
beer
you're still
tastes
here.
really, really good.
And you're still here.
Cheers.
You're badass, man. Wow. God, I'm gonna have to
Well, she's at dance class right now. So
living it,
it's
being a normal kid,
it's
3-year-old.
adorbs. Yeah,
Yeah.
3-year-old
Okay.
doing ballet and tap. It's so cute.
Well, good
Well,
luck
here's
with that.
here's the other. And I was going to say, here's the crazy thing. Well, I think I've already
Just-
said the
okay.
crazy thing.
There's
So-
another level to this.
Well, I have a 26-year-old son, and he's married, and he lives in Indianapolis. He's doing great. And then I've got a 13-year-old son, and I really thought I was done. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really unexpected. So it makes this being single thing really weird.
I mean, we've already established you're not older than me. Or I'm a one.
gap is
I'm
not
one,
that
I'm
big.
one dog year older than you. But the notion of having a young child.
Yeah. It scares a lot of guys away, I got to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Which just tells me, they're not the right guy. So, whatever.
There you go. I mean,
Fuck 'em.
in some way, yeah, that's kind of that's probably one way to look at it. Are you looking for another guy? Is that what are you out currently shopping? Have you been on
Well.
these apps and
Maybe I have.
I don't know, have we both
it's
right?
been like a year since I have had a relationship and of any sort. I had a nice fling last summer.
Is
you're
fling or relationship?
whatever the hell he wants to call it.
When you say last summer, is in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of started going, man. That's too long.
Yeah, because you made reference to the microphone. I digress, but we keep going. So bring me up to speed. So you're you get through, you go through that adoption, and things are the way they are here. But what about you? Where are you at right now? What's your thing? I know you're managing, which I thought was cool, the actors of unusual size. And then there's some other stuff. You're in the arts and all that. So
Yeah, a little bit.
talk to me about all that.
Yeah, okay. So let's see. Well, I was telling you earlier about, I called you fancy because you went to manual, because I have this grudge against everyone who got to go to manual. I started acting lessons when I was 12. And really it was just my stepdad wanted to get me out of the house and try to keep me out of trouble, which did not work, because I quit them at 13 when I discovered pot and boys.
So you are a advocate of legalizing cannabis, right?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I never had to buy it myself, so I didn't really care.
Yeah, not the legal part really matters, but
But, but I had the arts in me from a young age, got a theater degree. Let me see. And I have this weird gap because I had the kids. I was married, had a kid, did the mommy thing, the white picket fence thing, realized that's not for me. Actually, well, that's another story. And then did it again. So like every 10 years, I tend to start over, which means if I get really involved in something theatrically, it's very short-lived because I have these family obligations, or I've blown up my life because of other reasons. So even though I'm 45 years old, I have this resume that's smaller than it should be, which it's frustrating, especially when you're on Facebook and you're watching your friends do so much great stuff. And it's like, God, I could be there, but I can't be there. And that's what I'm doing right now, is watching a lot of stuff. But as far as actors of unusual size, we started that group when we were commissioned to do The Princess Bride for the Princess Bride Festival. So I directed a production of that. Got these great actors. Their voices were amazing. They were just fantastic. This was at the Alley Theater in 2011, about 2011. And we reprised that a couple years in a row. And the guy we had playing Andre the Giant's character is huge. And he's amazing. He's an artist, Brian Statsny. So I'm 5'0" and he's like, I don't even know. He's tall. So Actors of Unusual Size was a great name for our group. We went on to do, we were commissioned to do a production of War of the Worlds, and we did that for a geeky vinyl record collecting convention
Still local.
at Crown Plaza.
Okay.
And then we were commissioned the next year to do it at Wonderfest, which is a model sci-fi convention. It's been going on 30 years.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And so that's where AOUS began. And
I'm on the AOUS Actors of Unusual
and
Size
I do not
Facebook
keep
page.
this site up.
No, but
yeah.
I just I love the first part. AOUS is growing.
I'm glad you caught that pun, because
cool.
we're not.
I was gonna say, are you? I mean, but it's been in
funny.
existence since it looks like 2012.
Okay, 12.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
That makes sense. Yeah, and so my theater partner, Nathan Baldwin, he's got this great voice, but he's been in. So he was in War of the Worlds. He was Mount Orson Welles. He was. We did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy last year, and we're actually going to be reprising it at GalaxyCon this year in November. He's just got this great voice. But he and I really clicked, and we wanted to do a lot of other things. And his bane was my bane. He has a family and no time. And so the model of theater is that you get cast in a show, then the next 6 to 8 weeks of your life you rehearse, and then the run of the show, your family doesn't even know who you are.
Right.
And that's, so you have to have that kind of dedication. And neither he nor I could do that. I've done it a couple times, and it's just so disruptive. The people that you count on, especially being single. Now, he's married, and he's got support from his wife, and she's wonderful. But there's, it's still a lot to ask. So we kept talking about this model of, why can't we rehearse once a week for a year? Get a show in our pocket, and then we'd be done. And we kept talking about, we talked about it for like 3 years, and we finally did it. And that's what we did with Hitchhiker's Guide.
Okay.
Hitchhiker's Guide. We rehearsed for a year, once a week for a year.
Wow.
And it worked. But it was still hard. It was so funny because still carving out that 3 to 4 hours a week was still very difficult
Especially
for
when you
us.
got family. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
family.
it was crazy.
And especially that too, family, relationships. I was telling you before the show started, you'd asked me how long I was doing this. And Shooting from the Lip will be 5 years old in November. I've been here since March of 2018. So, and I have a daytime job. This is a hobby. There's a little monetization with this, and I picked up 2 more podcasts recently. Guess how long it's been since I've been in a relationship?
5 years.
About 5 years. Yeah. And this has kind of been, it's...
Well, people want your attention. Selfish
I know,
assholes
I know.
want your attention. And it's like, it's like, you're not going to get 100% of my attention all the time because I can't.
Right. And, but, I've been a straight shooter from the get-go. This is kind of who I am right now. We hang out, go out, have fun and all this stuff, but just to be able to commit is kind of hard. Okay, it's not nothing about me, but I feel it. I know what you mean when, because if you have ties, I mean, you have things that, constraints. Not that family is, looked at as a negative, but you're limited on what you can.
Here's the thing, and this is one thing, Nathan and I have been talking about this. It's like you get these conflicting messages, and obviously we get conflicting messages our entire life, but the one that's really been weighing on me is you're going to be on your deathbed, okay? And one day you're going to go, why didn't I go for it? Why didn't I audition for that show? Why didn't I just go to film school? Why, I could have been, and you're never going to want to say I could have been. Okay, that's one set of just. But what's the other one? The other one you hear is, none of that matters. You're only going to care that you were with your family and that you were a good person.
Heard that too, yeah.
So you hear both. And so when you're stuck in our position, you go, well, which is it? Do I go to LA and drag her along and take her out of her school and go for it? Because if I don't, I might never ever do it. Or is that horribly selfish and I need to keep her? You know what I mean? Like, and I
You chose.
think I know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Honestly.
In this town, and you know this probably for a fact too. I've really gravitated to the visual arts, film and stuff. Like if you go back and look at some of my recent podcasts, the last 6 months, there's been some film person on it. I love it. I didn't realize until the last year how much fucking talent we have in town.
Yeah. Again, me being wistful because that's my, that's my dream. I want to be a film director.
Yeah. And
there it is. Not that I never will be able to, but
and there's some talented film
And
people
this-
in town.
oh
Yeah,
my
I mean,
gosh.
it blows me away, and I love the conversations I have with these guys and their gals, and So I say this, and you mentioned, do you go to LA? I mean, yeah, if you're wanting a certain level of success, stardom, probably money, and you got to look probably that big, because here we're somewhat limited. We are limited. As a fan of the scene, I'll never have to leave. To me, I'll never have to leave Louisville. I'm a fan of music. I've got lots of music friends. I've got the food and drink here, amazing. And, the other forms of entertainment. Film.
I swear, I went pulling in here that Teddy Abrams, our glorious Louisville Orchestra conductor, was on a
badass.
bicycle,
Was he?
riding through Nulu, because he was on Market, all the way through here. And yes, I have this huge crush on Teddy Abrams. I'm just gonna say
I've been
it.
wanting to get him on here, too.
Oh my God! Anyway, I saw him at Forecastle and about just died. Anyway, but I swear anyway. But yes, that just we've got so much here. Yeah, no, and we have so much opportunity. So you can be a working actor.
Right.
You can be a working artist. And I actually have actor friends who are doing very well.
Yeah. Here in town, locally, there's enough talent and opportunities for an actor or actress to build their resume too.
Hard to get paid.
But it's to get the resume together to get it to that level. There's opportunities here, but yeah, you're right. It's there are
Well,
constraints.
it was funny when I was talking with the GalaxyCon people. I'm really excited to bring Hitchhiker's Guide there, and it used to be SuperCon. It's in November, and it occurred to me only after they said yes, and can you perform Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we're thrilled to have you. And I went, I never even asked them about money. It wasn't even part of the conversation. And so then to tack it on to a later, do we get lights and sound, and is there pay? It just seems so ridiculous.
Yeah, I got it.
Get me in free, that's fine with me. So
Some of that, yeah. There's, besides the actors acting thing, what else you rolling in?
I work full time. I work in a science department. I worked in play publishing right down the street.
Does that make you a science geek?
Well,
Does that rub off on
a
you?
little bit. I met Neil deGrasse Tyson. Does that make me a science geek?
That makes you a badass because
It does
he's
make me a
amazing.
badass, doesn't it? Yeah.
Where'd you meet him at?
At the Palace.
Did-
He came
Oh
and
yeah,
did a
he
show.
he did. So
And
you got to meet him while he was doing, or
Not
wow.
during the show.
Yeah,
I didn't storm the stage and show my tits. But
So you're one of those.
next time. So no, because when the kids in the hall were at the Palace a long time ago, I just ventured around back to see if I could meet them, and I met them. I got their autographs, and it was really cool. So I always had that in the back of my mind. If there's anyone I want to meet, I know where the back door is. I know where the limo parks. And so I told my son, he was 10 at the time, and we had recently watched all of the new Cosmos, and I told him that this was a possibility. So we had printed pictures of him, and I actually had a picture that had been hanging on my boss's wall. Took it with me, and a silver Sharpie. Had to make sure we had the silver Sharpie. It was a big deal. And we stood out back after the show for about 3 hours. He had like $1,000 a ticket VIP meet and greet that he was dealing with. We're outside shivering. But as soon as he came out, he was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys have been out here the whole time?" And we're like, "Yep." But my son, who is very reserved, came right up to him with his piece of paper and the Sharpie.
Your son knew who he was.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, kind of like I said, we'd
Yeah.
watched Cosmos.
Yeah.
He knew the whole thing, and he's smart as a tack. But so he just held the paper out to him, and Neil said, "Oh, man, it's cold." He started rubbing his hands together. He said, "Do you know what happens when you rub your hands together?" My son looked at him and said, friction? And Neil did the, whoa, the meme face, and it was so great.
I love it.
And he said, and then he started talking to my son about the effects of friction on the Mars lander. And I'm standing there.
Your 10-year-old son, no offense, probably was that what? It's probably not his first boner, but close, right?
Gross.
I would have had. Yeah, I would have been. If I hadn't had one by then, I would have had one at that moment.
I really really didn't want to think about that, but you are probably right.
All right.
But Mom standing
It's
there
an analogy.
just staring there, going, "Why is my phone not out?" Like I'm fumbling. We'd been waiting there 3 hours. I didn't have it in my hand the whole time, so I'm fumbling for the phone for pictures. And
You had the phone.
And so, right. Yeah, exactly. I was frozen, and I got pictures and all that, and finally had presence of mind to at least get a picture of me with him, and I have the cheesiest look on my face. It's like, oh
I
my
need to
God.
see that. You
Yeah.
need to get me that.
It's on my Facebook.
Okay, I'll
you'd
find
have
it.
to
No,
dig,
I'll
but
dig.
I can
Okay, I'll dig. They call it, it's research.
It's real.
Research.
Look, if I put it on Facebook, I cannot
True, it's
accuse
public.
you of
You
stalking.
really- you
So
can't.
that
You really
term
can't.
is
I know,
really
I say it,
ludicrous.
and I do.
Now, if
I-
you were disguised your name and nefariously got in there, that would be a different.
Well, here's the
thing.
thing too, and we're gonna. You know what? Save the thought because I want to talk
Okay.
about that later.
Okay.
Especially. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you got. You're,
So I work in the School of Natural Science.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. I'm going to go back. So I worked right down the street for 10 years in children's play publishing. There was a publishing place, and it had been around since 1932, published
Really?
high-quality children's works. It was the founder of it, Sarah Spencer, founded basically Stage One. It was the Louisville Children's Theater.
That's cool.
And then...
that is a cool story. But go ahead.
Oh, it is. The whole thing is cool. And then I worked there, like I said, 10 years. And then in 2008, it started going downhill. The economy tanked, and a small boutique publishing house just couldn't stand. So we had to sell the place, sell the inventory. And I was on unemployment for about a year. And then I got this job at IUS. And, of course, my goal was never to be a secretary. It was like, okay, this is a good stopover. I'm unemployed, so here we go. And I freaking love the place. And we have 50 plus or minus full-time faculty, 50 plus or minus part-time faculty, and we have physicists. I get to hang out with physicists. And
The smart people.
Oh, it's so cool. And my boss is a chemist, and I love them all. And I just, and I really like, because I'm assistant to the dean, I really kind of like being,
And this is
I feel like I'm a handler.
IUS, right?
Yeah, at IUS, yeah. I love it. I kind of love, like, I feel like when like the stars have the assistant going, okay, you need to be over here. Okay, you need to get in a photo op with them. Those are the kinds of things that I do.
Yeah, almost like they're what are they? Yeah, like an assistant.
I like
Yeah,
a personal
right,
assistant.
so
Yeah.
That's cool. Very cool. So the science guy, all that. Have you met him, Bill Nye?
Bill Nye. I am working on getting him to come here. Hopkinsville College got him, or university. I don't know which one, but they got him.
I've heard with him, he's a lot more accessible than you would probably think.
I called
All
Neil
in the name of
deGrasse
science.
Tyson's agent.
Did you?
And I said, and they said, well, what's your budget? And I was like, well, you tell me what it is. And it was like $150,000 just to get him to step on campus. And I was like, well, our budget's not quite that.
Yeah.
But she did say we could get you a nice astronaut for $1,000. Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
Does he look like Neil? Is he a black astronaut?
That's a blastronaut.
Blaster. Oh, even better. I like that. Blastronaut. Speaking of that, I did watch Blackula the other day.
You did.
You ever seen it?
I've never watched it.
It'll probably be
thought,
on. It's gonna, the Halloween season. I just happened to stumble on one of those.
Even as a kid, when all that shit was on in the 70s on Sunday afternoon,
I only watched about 15 minutes, which was enough. But it was that corny 70s kind of
Right. It seems like I don't remember as much as the blaxploitation. Hard to say when you've been drinking. As much as the sexploitation. I just remember a lot of boobies. There was a lot of boobies on TV when I was a kid. Like regular TV. Yeah.
Still there.
Well, but not on regular TV. Like back when we had the 4 channels,
Yeah. That's a good point. I forgot. Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
So here we've crossed boobies off the chat list.
Okay.
I was mentioning some podcasts that I was doing are additional ones, and one is a paranormal slash. It's more UFO theme. It's there was a UFO show on the History Channel that came on after Ancient Aliens for two seasons, and they actually did better ratings than Ancient Aliens. But Ancient Aliens, on their contract renewal, said if we're going to stay, that show Hangar 1 cannot be after us. So they actually bumped Hangar 1 in favor of Ancient Aliens, which Ancient Aliens has been there for years.
Right.
Anyways, but I've got a couple of guys from the Hangar 1 that what we're doing with the podcast is going back and reviewing every episode they did. Each podcast reviews an episode, and we bring on a named UFO guest. But anyways, in tying that with science, because now you're kind of geeking in the science world. What is your take when it comes to life outside of this world? Do you believe that we...
Do I believe?
Yeah.
Well, yes, with a big capital F. Yes. I had some experiences when I was a child, and I can tell you a little bit about those.
Yeah.
But aside from, let's say I didn't, you know, just there's just no way there's not life out there. There's just, you know, the universe is too big. We can't be it, and if we are it, I'm just gonna cry.
Now hold that quick thought, because also as a UFO guy, my all-time favorite show is The X-Files. I don't know if you ever watched that or not.
I did. I was an X. Wow, can you be an X-file file? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
They, you know, so I was, you know, I was like the Fox Mulder. I've always bought in, believed it. And then, you know what? Do you know who his partner was on the show? Her last, they'd known her as Scully, but you know what her first name was?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was Dana.
Yeah.
Of course.
So did I just find my Dana? You'll
No.
stay too.
I'm your Zool, okay?
Oh, you're okay.
I'm your Zool.
Zool.
Just, yeah. So,
Oh, well, even better. That's a good one too. Yeah.
no, and actually, I don't remember a lot of X-Files. I remember watching a few episodes and really being into it, but then I got it. I'm good with this now, you know? Kind of like if you watch an episode of House,
Right.
you've
I got
watched
you.
them all kind of
Okay.
thing. So I think that's how I felt about it back then.
Well, that's blasphemy, but I'll let you continue.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really care. So
Clearly.
I'm banging the table. It's probably horrible on your
No,
mics.
you're fine.
Sorry. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. So, you know, I hate it when people talk about Fermi's paradox, because if you're talking about Fermi's paradox, then you're discounting every...
Elaborate to that for people. who
Fermi's
don't- yeah.
paradox is the idea that if there's life out there, how come we haven't seen it?
Right.
I mean, that's the nutshell, right?
Mhm.
And it's confounding. We'll just leave it there. But what pisses me off about that is that you're ignoring so many firsthand accounts.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm going to believe this concept over my fellow humans.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so many. And if it was just one or two crackpots in the field going, "Arr, look, I saw a UFO," that would be different. But it's not.
Well, the critic to that has said and continues to say, what's their little tagline? You know, for an extraordinary claim should be extraordinary evidence. So the argument is that where's this extraordinary evidence? You know, and then
you look and you go, well, there's a lot of it.
yeah, you can argue that there is. And then now, you know, we were just talking with, you know, the Air Force coming out and acknowledging, yeah, we've been tracking shit on radar, and we got this stuff from 2004, 2015, and, you know, and then there's been money, millions of dollars spent on research. I think in my lifetime, before I take that dirt nap, we're gonna get
Some confirmation.
true
Confirmation. Yeah, I agree.
Or, yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. Thing is that how do you? We get the confirmation, but are they here? Have they been here? I'm asking you this. How long have they been here?
I don't know. They Live is one of my favorite movies of all time. So,
Rowdy.
yeah. So, The creeped out part of me really hopes they're not walking around with us. Although I've met some people that I would,
Depending, yeah, that could be the case. I mean, who knows? But I do want to know. I want to know every aspect, and that's why I do that. I'm doing this UFO podcast.
I do too. So you want to hear my story?
Please.
So I had let's see, my dad and I saw a star. Let's say in the backyard up over the fence, and we just noticed that it was, no matter what time of year it was, that star was always there.
So this was a recurring sight.
This was for years.
For years, okay.
And we noticed that it was colorful, and we got increasingly more intense binoculars to look at it. And we noticed it had revolving lights. Believe whatever you want. Revolving lights, colors, and like red, green, blue, red, green, blue,
how
yellow.
far in the distance is it? How far
Oh
are you
God,
talking
it
about?
was.
I mean, you're talking
I have
like
no idea.
No, you're talking if you.
I
Someone would
really
say,
have no concept. I am
like,
not even kidding. I have
that's
no
a
concept.
star. I mean, we talking that far? Or are we talking?
No,
No, not
not
that.
a star far.
Okay, so within our orbit.
I would say
You-
within yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
We're narrowing it down. Okay.
But really, all I can say is I don't know. But that's what
Okay.
it seems like.
Okay.
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 So we watched it for years, and that's the thing that bothered me about it is I knew Orion was here in the winter, but the star was always the same way when Orion disappeared. It was just always there, and we would just shrug our shoulders and go, well, whatever. So one night we're out staring at it because it was always there, and there were 5 little stars just kind of around it. And all of a sudden, those 5 stars moved into the one we'd been looking at.
Now I've got
Nope.
the boner.
And they took off, all 5 of them.
You see this?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was me, my dad, and my neighbor friend. My neighbor friend started crying, and she ran home. Now, no, here's what happened next. So they went in, they took off, and I'm going to call it the mothership just out of
That's
just for a word.
exactly what I would have called
And
it.
it moved like, okay, to you and I, it moved like 3 inches. Who knows how long? Very slowly, and it was gone. And
Gone as in like disappeared, or just gone as in like jetted off. That kind of you could okay.
it was gone.
Gone. Okay.
So, so again, my friend runs off screaming. My dad and I just stand there staring at each other for who knows how long.
WTF moment.
And then it's back. It's always there. And
Still, well, let me-
same location.
Why did you said your neighbor? Who was crying? Which one was crying?
Just a neighbor girl
Okay.
down the street.
Why was she crying?
Well, I guess I'd been saying we don't know what it is. It might be a UFO, and she's staring like at us, going, "What are you talking about?"
I'm curious.
She was probably 10 years old.
Oh, okay. So
She was probably
okay.
10.
She was just scared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it
Okay,
scared the
yeah.
crap out
Okay,
of her.
All right. Because if you would have said she was an adult crying, then I start thinking of all these religious people who think that still think that the earth, everything revolves around the earth. God is, the whole challenge of a notion that if life
Isn't that
outside,
funny? People think that stuff is
they
so
still
funny.
do the whole flat.
I love
thing.
y'all.
I
Y'all
know.
are so cute. Bless your
they're
hearts.
Very entertaining. Very entertaining people. So yeah, it's that's interesting, and you're still seeing it. Here's my take on this too, because I have a friend of mine who, if you go, I'll do this offline. We'll do this after the fact. I'll show you a picture of her, and then I'll show you pictures. The blood type that they say is, it's what is it, Rh negative or something?
Oh, yeah, the negs, yeah.
Yeah. She's got this look. If I show you a picture of her and then show you the picture of all these supposedly alien hybrids, humans, she has a very similar look to them.
Okay.
She swears up and down that occasionally, routinely, in the middle of the night at her home, a portal opens up in her home, in her
Oh, my
bedroom, and she is
God.
visited. And here's what blows. And I'm getting goosebumps because I know her well. She and I done some podcasts together, so I got to know her. I believe her. I believe she's experiencing this. And what's crazy is that she's experiencing this, and then the argument's like, oh, no, it's sleep paralysis, or she's dreaming. Her fiance is in bed with her, and
Can see it.
that's it. Here's where I'm going.
Okay.
He can't see it, but he sees her. She's awake. He can confirm that she's wide awake. She's not,
And she can move.
she can move,
Okay.
and she sees things. He doesn't, and she can have a conversation and tell him what she's seeing, that they're right there near you, and he's not. I guess where I'm going with this is that
Wow.
there's a to me there's a rhyme and a reason why certain people have these visitations or these sites, is because they're supposed to.
I got
they
you.
have the connection.
Well, and that's so funny because
What
I
you-
used to
what-
ask, because I've seen this thing, and I'll see it, and I'll see it when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And you know how the moon
You're
follows
supposed
you.
to see it.
And
Maybe I'm not.
The moon will follow you, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like that thing. So it'll follow, quote unquote, follow
Mm-hmm.
me where I can see it. And I'm like, and I would ask it. And I remember my whole life, because I would think I was like 13 when this happened, and my whole life I'm like, I ask it,
Mm.
what do you want?
Yeah,
What do you want? Why do I keep seeing you?
yeah.
And
And she has that same kind of dialogue too, and she's actually on the verge of coming out and making this, going kind of public with it. She's going to a UFO convention this weekend or something where there's like these heavy UFO names, and she's going to start
was
to open
today
up.
supposed to be Area 51 Day?
It's
Was
the
that
20th?
20th?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's
okay.
today? Today is
Today's
the
the
17th. So
17th.
the 20th is what? Friday? What was today?
Friday.
Tuesday. It'd be Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the storm, Area
Didn't
51.
they cancel it? They canceled
Well,
it.
the guy who created
Mm-hmm.
the post acknowledged he's done some interviews. It was just a joke,
Right. Yeah, I figured
and
that.
he canceled the event. But from hearing some news things online, is that there are people in the area, because the surrounding towns, there's nothing there. So it's like there might be one hotel.
There's going to be a T-shirt vendor there, I can
There's
guarantee
absolutely, and there's going to be people there. And what's going to be crazy is that
it. Are you going to be there? You're going to be there, aren't you?
I'm not to that extreme, but I'm looking forward to hearing what happens, the fallout, because I do think there's people that will go, and there might be some people crazy enough to try to storm it, and if so, the government, the people
Right, I
there
mean, I
have
figured,
the
yeah,
right to shoot, and
they have the
the
big
signs are there.
guns.
So yeah, that's stay tuned for that.
So that's my alien story.
That's a
Now, I
cool story.
have one addendum to that. It was very, very strange. And it's back behind my neighborhood. There was a big straw grass field and a pond. We used to swim in the pond in the summer. And I went to that field, and this was right around that time. I was seeing this thing all the time. And there was a big circle of the wheatgrass or whatever it was that was completely white. All the color drained from it, brittle, and 4 circles around it, smaller. So one large circle that was maybe 10, 20, maybe it was
Were
20.
the smaller circles maybe like, could they have been like a lead?
Okay. If we're gonna go ahead and go there,
Please.
then the center circle that was maybe 20 feet in diameter, and the smaller circles were maybe 3 feet in diameter, were landing pads, and the big
That's
thing
where
was
I'm
the
going,
and I found this thing, and I really studied the grass and the brittle. I mean, and it looked like just all the color and life were just sucked out of it, and they were perfect circles, and they were. I didn't tell anybody about it. Like, in hindsight, I'm like, why didn't
How
I
long
go
ago
get
was
my dad? I was like 13,
Okay.
so back in the 1800s,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So
When everything was black and white.
yes, everything
Yeah.
was black and white. So that solves it. It was white. It was bizarre, and it was just right around that time frame. And like I said, I wish I had told somebody about it. Wish I had brought somebody out to see it, but I didn't.
With you being connected to a lot of the, the science world, if you will, have you shared any of these stories with your people?
One.
Just one person or one
I
story?
have one.
Or
Well, I've shared, I think, both those stories with one of our faculty.
And their
And
response?
she's had her own experience.
Really?
And she does not feel at liberty to share that with anyone else. So it was kind of a thing we got to go, and I said, look.
Because of it might ruin her reputation? Is it kind of that
Exactly,
kind of thing?
yeah.
Or does it, is it a combination of, does it challenge her scientific beliefs? Scully?
I'm not going to say what discipline she's in.
Okay.
I don't think it. I think it more maybe confirms, or as a scientist, it just goes, okay, there's more questions we need to ask. And it's a shame that the stodgy ones tend to poo-poo these kind of things. It's just a shame. But she shared it with me, and I feel privileged.
Very cool. That is cool. Trending. Anything? Hookers don't fart. They let out little prostitutes. You're one of those. That is one thing I did gravitate here.
That's a pun. My
I know.
friend posted that today, and I could not. How do you not share that one?
Okay, fair
Hookers
enough.
don't fart. They let out little prostitutes. Come
You
on.
do have. That's one thing about like your Facebook page. You do put out these little memes, and so I get a little. I've noticed.
I'm glad I'm entertaining you.
You are entertaining me. This past weekend was a lot of music going on. Did you attend any of that?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No, I went. I was very, very, very lucky this year. I got Forecastle VIP weekend passes, and I just got a lot of festival out of me. I had Bourbon and Beyond tickets, weekend passes for this weekend. But okay, so my little girl is a Star Trek nerd.
Okay.
TOS.
3-year-old one.
We watch it together. We've bonded over it. She loves it.
Okay.
So last year we lucked into weekend passes to SuperCon, and of course we spent a fortune because the autographs and the pictures are just insane.
Right.
But she got to meet Captain Kirk,
As in William Shatner.
and she got to meet Walter Koenig, Chekhov,
Oh wow.
and she was thrilled. These pictures of her with them are just like. And when she met Chekhov, she reached out and shook his hand, and she looked at me. And she was only 2, okay? She looked at me and she said, "That's Chekhov," and it was adorable. And the picture of her with Kirk, she's just wide-eyed and thrilled. It's so amazing.
You'll
And
think.
so,
Go ahead.
well, I had to get rid of my Bourbon and Beyond tickets because, as she says, Spock is dead, Bones is dead, Scotty is dead, so all I can see is Sulu and Uhura, and she's sick. So this is because I had read that Uhura, Nichelle Williams, had some dementia issues, and I thought her touring days was over. But then I saw she's going to be at Cincinnati Comic Expo this weekend. So I had to get rid of my Bourbon and Beyond tickets, and I'm got a whole weekend planned with my little girl and my boy at Cincy Comic Con. We're going to meet Uhura, and I get to meet Will Wheaton and Brent Spiner.
Very cool.
So,
That is cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned Star Trek. Believe this or not, as a UFO enthusiast, I'm an enthusiast, not some. I draw the line. Not every freaking light in the sky is a UFO, but I'm not a Star Trek guy.
Oh no!
I've never seen Star
I'm outta
Wars.
here. What? No.
Never ever.
My
Battlestar. None of those. Those are too sci-fi geeky for me. I'm
Okay,
not
so
that.
now are you
to
a
that
fantasy
extent.
guy? So what are you? Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter?
I don't watch any
Neither?
of that stuff. No, I've never seen
Wow.
Harry Potter. Never seen Lord of the Rings. They're just too fantasy for me.
Blade Runner?
Is that Mel Gibson? Not
Oh,
Blade
my
Runner.
gosh.
Is that Mel?
Harrison
is it?
Ford.
No, it's Harrison Ford. What am I thinking? Blade? That's the Mad Max.
Oh,
right?
Mad
Yeah.
Max. Well, yeah, Mad Max is
no,
cool.
I'm not.
but
I don't think I've seen Blade Runner either. Now,
Wow.
see, mine.
my mind is exploding
Like
right
my
now.
all-time, like I'll watch Alien movies. Like my all-time favorite. I like the Alien movie, the
Yeah.
Predator, Arnold, but and I watch UFO type shows, but not
That's
the
fascinating.
not the sci-fi. I cannot get into it.
That's so weird. So
I'd see probably with Star Wars at a very young age, and I was young then. It just didn't look real to me. It looked still, and I know back then it was probably it was as real as it could be.
Oh yeah, with those
but
practical effects, it was amazing.
I don't know. I wasn't enamored by a bunch of guys in plastic. They appeared to me in plastic.
I got you.
So
I just ordered a stormtrooper dress, by the way.
Well, please
It's funny.
please share that for me.
I will, because it's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that. I'm still sitting here, but you're.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. I just.
So I watched Alien. So when Alien came out, I think it was 80.
No, Alien actually came out in the late 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. Or no, late 70s.
Yeah,
The first one. The
first
very
one,
first one.
Yeah, 78 or 9, something like 77. Yeah, something like late 70s. But yeah, late 70s. Don't make me
Google
Google
that.
it.
Google that. I want to know, because I saw it at the theater. I was born in 74.
Shit, if you
So
went
my
to the
dad
theater,
took me to, because my dad, I love you, Daddy, but you let me see too much shit too soon. I can't watch horror movies now. Things like this fucked me up.
Yeah.
So I can't watch them now.
79.
79,
Yeah.
I was it 5 years old? I was
You
5.
You were 5 and went to see
When,
Alien.
at the theater.
That was
So
good.
remember when that thing came out of the stomach?
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm done. I'm done. So I never watched any of the other ones. Couldn't deal. Just couldn't deal. And it was just too much for my little brain to understand. And like my grandmother was crazy. She let me watch Poltergeist, or not Poltergeist. Well, yeah, I did see
Yeah.
Poltergeist at the theater when it came out. But
That's a good one.
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and she
was-
told me that happened down the street, and I was like 6. And
Street.
let's see, my dad took me to see John Carpenter. Was John Carpenter's The Thing
One of my favorites.
when it came out, and the one
was
with
the early
Christopher
80s.
Walken and the Russian roulette. Help me out here.
Russian.
Deer Hunter.
Oh yeah, shit.
So those are the big movies.
You grew up on some hard stuff for young.
Hardcore
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
And then and through my teen years, I was okay with a lot of violence and gore.
Mhm.
And then something snapped, and I just said, I can't have any of it in my head. I don't want any more.
Yeah.
And so I can't. I just don't watch it.
Yeah.
The violence has to be completely integral to the story. Like I can watch Pulp Fiction and Inglourious Bastards and things like that,
Yeah.
but it has to have that big of a payoff.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
I got you.
Yeah. But I can't believe you're not a sci-fi guy. That's so bizarre.
No, I'm not. I mentioned X-Files is my all-time favorite, but that's not a sci-fi. It's kind of it's not science. It's what do you call it? I don't know. But anyway,
It's a buddy cop movie, buddy cop show.
what happened to be with aliens, but going telling that story. Back in the day, I grew up Southern Baptist home. Good God. In Southern Baptist where there's no alcohol, and, rock and roll is the devil music, no smoking, and I grew up in a family where, the mom, this is old school, the moms didn't work. It was, staying at home.
Yeah.
In church. Every fucking Sunday and Wednesday as a kid was going to church. And this is what changed that for me. 12 years old, our youth minister decided to take about 10 of us 12-year-olds to a movie. He took us to see the fucking Amityville Horror. I didn't sleep for a week, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way when it came to church. And and then, and then about that age too, I'm starting to really started to question some of the stories of the Bible as well. And we talked kind of where our thoughts are when it comes to religion. A lot of that shit just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like, well.
Yeah, once you start to question it, really.
Once you start talking out
snowballs.
loud,
Yeah.
there's an ark. There was all these animals.
Well, with
And a
me,
900-year-old man built this thing. don't make sense to me.
With me, it was just I grew up. They told me I was a Christian. My grandparents were ministers at the lightest weight church ever. It was called. It's
They
called
really were ministers?
Unity of Louisville.
Okay,
Yeah, they
yeah.
were ministers, and it's very new agey. A lot of crystals and love, and no, they didn't believe in hell, and it was la la la.
Okay.
So for any church, it was probably the coolest I could grow up with. And it wasn't until my second husband, before we were married, he just said to me one night in bed, he said, "No, I don't believe in God." And I went, "What? You don't believe in God?" I think he was my first atheist I ever met, or that I knew that I met. And I just freaked.
So
I had the
you know,
moment.
usually in bed when you hear the word God, it's not mentioned the way you just said.
Yeah, he sure said it a lot for
Yeah.
not believing in him.
Like I knew he would.
But that aside, I had a freak out, and it took, well, you know, I don't know. It's not just a one day you do and one day you don't. There's a,
So at that moment, you're on the God bandwagon.
oh, yeah,
Okay.
because I'd never
Well, prior
thought
to
you
that
could,
moment,
you
right?
could, no
Or
one
that
questions
moment, yeah.
this. I hadn't
Okay.
heard of Dawkins at that point.
Okay.
You know, I didn't. So it took me a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me probably 5 years to go, oh.
Ricky Gervais, who I love.
Oh, I do
I'm
too.
a huge fan, and you know where he stands.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But he had a great line: is that if you didn't introduce religion to someone until they were about 20, you get a whole different response.
Yeah.
A lot of it is learned behavior. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
what is passed down,
Yeah.
and that's really kind of pathetic that you just kind of you go that route, and
Well, it's coming from people who didn't question it. So, you know, it's kind of like they're not their fault. They didn't question it, so it's just what we do. You know, we go to Bible study, we go do this and this, and this is just what we do.
And Bible. Hey, I'm glad you brought that up. Sunday, Wednesday, vacation Bible school, all these things.
VBS is where I met boys.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay. No, there was that outside. What was another thing? Where was I going with that? Damn it.
I don't know. You're supposed to be in control here.
I'm supposed to be. Yeah, the whole religion thing. I'm just, it's again. I know where I was going. The learned behavior thing. People, you have adults telling you what's right and wrong. And I've had last couple weeks or last few podcasts I've had Senator Dan Syme, who is pushing the legalizing cannabis, full legalization. And I remember having a conversation with him, and I kind of tied this back to where I'm going with this, with adults talking to kids and basically lying to them when they say, "Don't do something because it's bad." That don't. In this case, don't try marijuana. Don't use marijuana because it's bad. Well, you know what? It's kind of not now. I mean, the science and everything, it kind of, there's a lot of positives to that. And then, but where I'm going with this is that you got kids who you're telling young people, instead of telling something, educate them, because you're telling them marijuana is bad for you, and then they try it and they're like, no, it's not. What else is?
Well,
what else have they been telling
The
us?
DARE
that's been
program
bad?
is horribly a failure.
Yeah.
Just
They say cocaine and heroin's bad. Well, maybe it's not. And then you got that false narrative where they think, well, if marijuana's not bad, I'll just try cocaine or heroin, and then that.
right, and
shit,
that definitely is a false
then that's
narrative. They
right,
don't.
yeah.
It's
So,
we know.
as we're gonna have to wind this down. We're just having a good time. We're at the next segment, but anyways, tell me something that's on your professional bucket list.
Oh, yeah.
Give me one, and then I'm gonna ask the same for a personal. To go.
Okay. Yeah, I want to direct a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to direct a film, and yeah. No, that's gonna happen.
You have access to people that can help make
I
that
have
happen?
access to, well, it's Louisville, and
Just Louisville.
and
Okay,
everybody
okay.
knows everybody in
Yeah.
Louisville. And I was lucky enough to meet a local director and be in his film, and I'm really glad I know the guy. Not just because I have a connection. It's not the LA thing. He's genuinely a good
Can
guy.
you say who?
David Brewer.
Okay, I've heard the name.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's wonderful. His first movie was just, it wasn't perfect, but when you watch it and you go, wait a minute, this guy's first movie? Holy shit, he's going to be good.
I have to check it out.
Yeah,
Make sure I get that.
he's
Yeah.
awesome.
Personal?
Personal bucket list. I'm currently looking for my forever home. I've moved a lot, and I want to get a nice freaking house. I feel like I'm 45. I want a freaking nice house, and I'm working on that. And I think everyone thinks they'll feel fulfilled once that happens. But I want room. My house is small.
Yeah.
I want room. My kid's 26. He's married. They're going to have kids at some point. And I have to be like the witch from Hansel and Gretel. I got to have the house made of candy and the video games and the pool and, to attract them over. Yeah. So that's it.
All right. This last few questions is my little rapid fire. I call round of shots.
Go for it.
Quick Q&A. First concert you attended?
The one I wanted to attend was Cyndi Lauper, but I had seen a lot of Waylon and Willie before that.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Flying.
If you stuck in an elevator with a celebrity, who would it be?
Oh, God, see, there's a lot of there in there. I don't know. Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like
The conversation wouldn't end.
Yeah. Any scars?
Uh,
Give me a weird scar story.
I have
Quick.
a motorcycle tailpipe burn on my right leg.
Oh. It's probably painful then.
Yeah.
Not so much now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But, that's better than my C-section
Yeah.
scar.
Pet peeve. Give me a pet peeve.
People being glib and lack of critical thinking.
Mm.
Or even lack of even know that you need to critical think. But I'm not passionate about that at all.
At all. If you had access to a time machine and could go anywhere in the past just to observe.
Oh,
Not to
where I
ch-
wouldn't get
yeah,
killed?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't get killed and you wouldn't do anything to change the future. Where would you go?
Good Lord. I'd want to go to the, probably Renaissance
That's a
and
good
just
one.
check it out.
Yeah,
just check
absolutely.
it out. I want to see.
Beautiful.
I want to see
Yeah,
how
yeah.
they actually
Yeah, I
lived.
know, yeah. All right, these last three are my, as I deem, the three most important questions ever to be asked/answered. The first two are yes or no. The last one, I need a sentence, one sentence answer.
Okay.
Is there a God?
No.
Are we alone in the universe?
No.
We are a God. And then the last one, what happens when we die?
How much time do we have?
I need it to be two sentences or less for that.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. We can
There's-
talk about that for a long.
I believe there is an energy that doesn't stop, and I believe in parallel dimensions, so I don't exactly think that our soul, I'm going to use that in quotes, that energy goes away.
That's a good answer. I like that.
That's it.
There is hope. Dana, hope. Dana, thanks for hanging out with me.
Well, thanks for
We're
inviting
going to do it
me.
again. We'll be in touch because I think that little UFO story when we're going to have...
Oh, I'd love to be on.
well, what we're going to do, because are you familiar with the Zoom app, Zoom meeting app?
Yeah.
Okay. So we do, that's how I do my other podcast through that app. But we're going to one day have a kind of an open Q&A type where people can use this Zoom and we're going to have some UFO personalities. People call in and share stories, questions, and all that stuff.
Oh,
So
that'd be
it'd
fun.
cool. Thanks again for hanging out. We'll do it again.
All right. Thanks for
All
asking
right.
me.
And good luck with everything.
You too.
Everything. You got like a big week coming up, it sounds like.
Wednesday's going to be fun.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
All right.